All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Palm Beach County Delegation meeting number 2. We have some members who are on their way, so we should have plenty of folks here. I would like to ask Senator Berman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Vicki, can you call the roll, please?
Senator Berman.
Here.
Senator Harrell.
Here.
Senator Polsky.
Here.
Senator Powell. Representative Caruso.
Here.
Representative Casello. Representative Edmonds. Representative Gossett-Seidman is excused. Representative Roth. Here. Representative Silvers. Representative Skidmore.
Here.
Representative Snyder is excused, and Representative Waldron.
Here. Excellent. Just a note to everyone, these mics are live and you can't turn them off, so be careful what you say. Everyone, welcome to the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation meeting for the upcoming 2023 session. Thank you, Ron Rice, for use of the venue, and I'd like to invite Ron Rice, Director, County Cooperative Extension Service, for some welcoming remarks.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Senator Polsky. I'm Ron Rice, Director of the University of Florida Palm Beach County Extension Department, and let me tell you that you do us great honor to be holding your legislative delegation meeting here today at our facility. I'd like to briefly kind of tell you what Extension is all about. Our mission is to help people, the citizens of Florida, with educational programs that use research or evidence-based information so that it's good information that they can use. We have a couple of different disciplines, including agriculture. We work with our farmers to discuss new varieties, new crop production methods, best management practices, and anything else that they need to know at that time. We provide a really good service in terms of agriculture safety trainings to keep our farm labor force safe, and also to get people trained up correctly for restricted use pesticide licenses and certifications that are required by the state. We've got a 4-H youth development program, which a lot of people are familiar with. We emphasize, the science, technology, environment, math, STEM curriculums. We intently reach audiences of diversity as well as disability. And while we emphasize STEM and other life skills, the main program here, the main objective is to teach leadership and citizenship awareness to our youth. Our family consumer sciences is another discipline. A lot of people don't really know what that means, but let me just say that we emphasize financial literacy, first-time home buyers, helping with credit scores and the finances of raising a family in Palm Beach County. And we also run 2 federal nutrition education programs that sends 12 nutrition educators out to our disadvantaged communities to teach them about healthy nutrition and how to shop on a budget. And the last thing I'd like to emphasize is that while we have an extension presence in all 67 counties, this one here in Palm Beach County is lucky to have the Mounts Botanical Garden as part of our facility. I want to emphasize that it's right there. And interestingly enough, Friday evening, we finished working with an artist, Patrick Doherty, who assembled a structure that's called Stickworks. It's completely built out of willow saplings, which themselves had a really great story because we had to get them out of Canada and there was an issue at the border. We don't know whether to blame Trudeau or not, but that was our message.
Blame Canada.
We didn't blame the U.S. But it's finished and it's there. It's 1 minute away. Great photo op, and you'll find it very unusual. And by the way, when Patrick Doherty walked out of Mounts on Saturday morning, he's retired. So this is the last structure that he's made. He's made over 300-400 of them throughout the world. So we're proud to have that one. Again, Thank you for choosing Extension for your meeting. This is important work. I really appreciate everything you do for our citizens, communities, and the great state of Florida. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much for having us. I wanted to announce if there is anyone wishing to address the delegation during the public comment section of today's agenda. If time allows, please fill out a blue request form and, sorry, I'm getting feedback, and provide it to Janaea Mercado with the delegation office up there in the front row. Thank you. I have the distinct honor of welcoming the newest member back to the family. Casey Denny is our new Legislative Affairs Director for Palm Beach County.
Yes!
Does that mean Ed doesn't have to do it anymore? So we're very excited to have you and work with you in Tallahassee, especially on budget items and the county's agenda. I would also like to recognize Ed Chase, Director of Intergovernmental Affairs and Community Engagement. And you get a little break. Thank you for all of your service in an interim basis. We really appreciate it. Thank you both. We always look forward to working with you. We have the most incredible staff here in Palm Beach County. I wanted to recognize our delegation members and ask you to say hello, describe your district, and to introduce your staff members if they are here. And I'll start with Representative Roth down at the end.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Clayton E. Hutchinson building of the Cooperative Extension Service. I love telling people that Clayton Hutchinson is still alive. It's not often that people get buildings named after him while they're still alive. He was a Cooperative Extension Director here for many, many years. I'm Representative Rick Roth. I represent the new District 94, which is everything west of the Turnpike from the Martin County line to Southern Boulevard all the way out to the Glades. I also include all the Everglades agricultural area, and I jokingly tell people the problem is cows don't vote. There's a lot of land out there, but not many votes. My aides, I do have a couple of new aides. Will Ponsel, I'm assuming you're here. If you'll wave to everybody, he's my new district aide. I also have a new district aide serving the Glades. To everybody's surprise, her name is Terry Mitzi. Right? Surprise?
No.
We knew about it.
We already heard.
Old news.
But you were surprised when you heard. So, and then of course Sheila Jackson, who is not here, is also my legislative aide. Welcome to the Mounts Botanical also. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Caruso.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm State Rep Mike Caruso, District 87, new district for me due to the redistricting as a result of the census. It runs from Manalapan, Hypoluxo, all the way to Jupiter, and then in Palm Beach Gardens goes out to the Turnpike. I'm excited to represent this new set of constituents and look forward to working with everybody here this upcoming session. I've got my aides here. My old aide, legislative aide, Walter Boykus, somewhere in the room back there. And I've got a new aide, Eva Sazanova. And if you could stand up, say hi, wave, nobody knows your face until today. In fact, she just came on board, as a matter of fact, at 9 o'clock this morning. So we're excited.
New aide.
And just want to remind everybody, it's a great opportunity here to spend, even if you only go out back there for 15 minutes to the Botanical Gardens, they are absolutely stunning. A true treasure to Palm Beach County, and take a moment to stop and smell the flowers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Representative Skidmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Skidmore. I represent District 92, which is western portions of Boca Raton, Delray Beach, and Boynton. Pretty easy now, very compact. With us this morning is my district aide, Amy Chamberlain. Thank you all for being here.
Senator Bertman.
Good morning. I'm Lori Berman, and I represent the new Senate District 26, which is Glades Road in Boca Raton north up to basically Boynton Beach, and then it heads west to Wellington, South Bay, and Belglade. Big geographic area that I get to share with a lot of people here on the dais. I kept 3 of my staff, and one is here today, Daniel DeLagrange. I also have Evelyn Duplessis and Abby Ross, and we have a new person coming on, Khadidra Willis, who will be covering the Glades. And as everyone knows, especially Casey Denny, Team Berman is the best.
Thank you. Vice Chair Harrell.
Thank you very much, and it's a delight to be here this morning. I'm State Senator Gail Harrell. I represent District 31, which is new to me. My district has moved quite a bit south into Palm Beach County. I have parts of St. Lucie County, all of Martin County, and in Palm Beach County, I go down all the way down to PGA Boulevard, heading west on PGA to Military Trail, go south on Military Trail, and to North Lake. At North Lake, I go west again to the Turnpike, and then at the Turnpike, go all the way south to Southern, just right here, and then all the way out to the Glades, and including Pahokee. So I am delighted to have an expanded district in Palm Beach County. I have two of my aides with me, and they are way in the back. Karen Sweeney, wave, and Carrie Lira, and Ann Baldock is our district aide. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to our newest member of the delegation, Representative Waldron.
Hi, thank you. It's great to be here. It's my second meeting, so I'm not yet an expert. So my district is District 93, which is Wellington, West Lake Worth, and Green Acres. So it kind of is right next to Kelly Skidmore and includes probably most of Senator Berman's district. I have one of my district aides here, Manuel Aleve. He's up there. He's a lawyer and he's got lots of political experience. So hopefully everybody will get to know him. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a few members who are on their way, so when they come in, we'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. Just wanted to make a couple of announcements. Sorry if this is getting feedback. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, Senator Powell will introduce himself. I'll just go while he's sitting down. So I am Tina Polsky. I am proud to be the new chair of this delegation. I am lucky enough to represent two counties, so I have just the very southern end of Palm Beach County now. I've moved in the southern migration that many of us have faced in redistricting. So I just have Boca Raton south, and I have the rest is Northwest Broward County. But I'm a proud Palm Beach County resident and proud to chair this delegation. I have with me JJ Piscadlo, who's over there, and my new second newest aide, Karianne Ingram, who will be in Tallahassee with us. So you will all get to know her. And Robert Mariaja is the district aide back in the office. And thank you all for being here, and I will give Senator Powell an opportunity to introduce himself and his staff and his boundaries, as it were.
Good morning, everyone. I am State Senator Bobby Powell, Jr., representing Senate District 24. Here in Palm Beach County. The northern boundary is PGA Boulevard south down to Lantana. It covers, I think it jogs along the Turnpike, and it gets all of the eastern seaboard areas. This is going into my 11th year as an elected, 7th year in the Senate. I am here this morning with my Chief of Staff, Attorney Diane Andre, and the newest member to our team, my other legislative assistant, Malcolm Summons.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Powell. PBC TV, which is available on Comcast Channel 20, AT&T Channel 99, and streamed 24/7 on the county's website, pbcgov.com. I'd like to remind the members and the audience that December 20th at noon is the deadline for submission of local bills to the delegation office. The local bill manual can be found on the legislative delegation website. Members, do any of you have any announcements that you'd like to share with the public? Seeing none, I would like to just let everyone know that we are headed up to Tallahassee for Monday special session to discuss property insurance, a few other issues like tax relief for Hurricane Ian victims, and it should be an interesting time. We are scheduled to be there through Friday, though it probably won't take all that time. So I encourage you all to watch and see what's going on in the Florida Channel. It's a very important topic, obviously, to see what we can do about property insurance premiums. Okay, we will start with our constitutional officers, and I have the pleasure of introducing the clerk of the court, Joseph Abruzzo. Clerk and Comptroller, excuse me. Senator Joseph Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is so great to see so many former colleagues and, most importantly, friends. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring it when I was listening to your new district boundaries. In the legislative seats I served in, we've had cross representation in every single one of your districts. Representative Roth, Terry Mitzi,
Terry.
great hire.
Absolutely.
Former aide. It worked so hard, and you're going to be delighted. When I ran for clerk and comptroller, I was told often that, you have this large staff, and you're going to be dealing with financial and budgetary issues your entire term, and that is so true. Senator Harrell, you know well how important the clerks are to the court system. Representative Caruso, without you last year spearheading our initiatives in your committee, we wouldn't have had the great year that we did. And we're finally caught up to equal budget that we had 10 years ago. However, with the increase in population, with you all adding judges because of the increase of population, we absolutely need to catch up, because when you add a judge, we need clerks in those courtrooms. So we will be filing the Clerks Association, or the clerks working collectively together, another bill this year that absolutely does not increase any fees or anything like that. It will be redirects of trust funds that we pay into. A big portion of our budget at the state level, I would submit, unfortunately, is funded by traffic tickets. And we've had a 53% drop, which is a great thing, I think, in traffic tickets throughout the state, but obviously that really hurts the clerks. So when it gets filed, I'll speak more to you about it individually and where we're heading. When I first got elected and I came up here 2 years ago, I brought up inflation, if some of you recall. I was concerned about it. As the comptroller, I manage billions of dollars, and I have a very broad investment team that informs me of trends and things that I meet with every single week. And I do not see inflation really curtailing off. I think that will continue to be a massive problem moving forward. If things, well, I'll put it this way. We have a $31 trillion national deficit. It's a $31 trillion credit card bill that we have never seen the likes of this in our nation's history. For brief background, when Bill Clinton handed George W. Bush the reins of the government, we had a $700 billion surplus. Both parties equally, in my opinion, responsible over the course of that next decades equaled what we have today. So I think the main thing, and I get asked often, is that we never hit a hyperinflation, which makes what we're going through right now look novice. So I'll be, if any of you ever want to speak to me offline about what we see, things of that nature, I know you have state economists and such, but inflation is not going away. The worst thing that our government can do is do stop and go, where they raise interest rates and then pull back, then raise it again, pull back. It will really make the situation worse. So expect interest rates to keep rising for the near-term future. I do want to bring up, and Madam Chair, you were such a big part of this. As many of you probably know, our office holds the Jeffrey Epstein grand jury records. And last year, Chairwoman Polsky sponsored an amendment on the floor for discussion to hear about the opportunities to release those records. We are working on a standalone bill that will be filed in the House and the Senate. Our government relations team, which is Ballard Partners, is working with the leadership in both chambers to see what that will look like. But I can say this, when the bill is filed, it will be specifically and strictly to the Jeffrey Epstein records. Grand jury's records are sacred records. There's an argument extremely worthwhile argument of the sanctity and the protection of those grand jury records. Most importantly, when the jurors come in under jury's instructions, they're told that these will be secret confidential hearings and will not be released. So we're treading carefully, and again, it's a little premature, but we're looking at something that undoubtedly and without dispute would only be to this specific court case. And Madam Chair, I thank you for the time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we're going to make a little move here. The public defender is ill, unfortunately, and she will not be here. And our attorney, Dave Arenberg, is on his way. So we're going to skip over that and come back to State Attorney Arenberg when he comes. So I'm going to start with the presenters. You will have 3 minutes to complete your presentation. If members have questions, they should ask them after the comments have been completed. Please begin your comments by stating your full name clearly for the record. And, okay, so start here. Okay, so I'm going to start with Linda Smythe from Sierra Club, and up after Linda is Claudia Kirk-Bartow.
Okay, good morning. Linda Smith, Jupiter, Florida. It's good to see you all again. I want to acknowledge that probably the only thing that's harder than getting up here to speak to you folks on this side of the podium is what you guys have to do on that side of the podium. Everyone's always asking you for something. Last month, Kay Gates asked for your help to stop burning of sugarcane. She and I, because I was just supporting her, were accused of being an ideologue. I had to look that word up. Ideologue, a person often blindly partisan advocate or an impractical idealist. And maybe I do resemble that remark. So moving on. The soil in the glades is already thinning. That is a scientific fact. Where the soil is too thin or where the rocks are already showing, they already implement green harvesting. Around commercial activities such as Walmart, they already do green harvesting. So is it really already practical in those areas? So maybe it's not so impractical. There was an after-session discussion indicating a belief that there is no tangible health risks. I provided 15 copies on recycled paper impacting of sugarcane fires on air quality and public health in South Florida, looking at 20 counties. I would like to suggest some tangible steps, not just standing on a soapbox, to increase green harvesting with a target to eliminate sugar burning in the future. The federal government already subsidized sugarcane farmers. Can the state provide incentives for green sugarcane farmers? Can the state fund a demonstration process on green harvesting with the Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Science? Can we fund or subsidize another biofuel plant in the glades? There already is one there, so it is practical. Maybe we need to expand it. Maybe we need a bigger one, 2 of them. That I can't necessarily tell you, but I'm asking you to please look into it. This would be a win-win for the state. You get credit for reducing the state's carbon footprint, for reducing air pollution, creating green jobs, which is always a catchphrase, green jobs, improving constituents' health, and Big Sugar looks good. Everyone looks good. And if all else fails, buy organic sugar, which is all green harvested. It's not impractical, it's not just generally practiced. I wish I had more time to talk to you also about reducing single-use plastic. There was an interest at the last session about possibly doing a ban on balloon releases. I provided copies of a Broward resolution for your information, and I have additional solutions for reducing plastic, as well as using unburned sugarcane. You can make those little food containers out of the sugarcane. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, I'm going to, Claudia, if you don't mind, State Attorney Arenberg came in with Al Johnson. So we want to give him the opportunity. Welcome, Senator and State Attorney, and Al Johnson. Welcome to the delegation. Please, you have the floor.
Madam Chairwoman, thank you. Thank you for having us, and I apologize for us being a little late. We had something we had to stay at the office for, so I apologize, but I'm here with Al Johnson, Chief Assistant State Attorney. You may know him from the Ethics Commission in the past. He's also the head of our Sober Homes Task Force. And Mark Freeman, who's my PIO. He had the impossible job of replacing Mike Edmondson, but he's doing a fantastic job. He used to be with the Sun Sentinel. You may remember, he was the reporter who got it right, not fake news. So, good guy. It's great to see my friends on both sides of the aisle here, and I appreciate the time. I want to praise this delegation because Palm Beach County has, again, time and time again, led the way when it comes to the opioid epidemic. With the sponsors we've had here, Senator Harrell, Representative Caruso, and for the support that we've had from everyone sitting up here, I want to give you some good news. You know, Palm Beach County used to be ground zero for corrupt drug treatment and sober homes. Now we arguably have the best industry in the country again because we have largely cleaned up the industry. Unfortunately, some of the problems are going elsewhere, like Broward County. We're the only county that has a sober homes task force. And it is troubling when you see a lot of the problem going to other parts of the country, including parts of Florida that have not made this issue as much of a priority. I would like to tell you, the new data has come out from the medical examiner from 2021. Florida experienced, according to the preliminary data from the statewide medical examiner, Florida experienced a 7% increase in opioid overdose deaths in 2021, 7%. Palm Beach County, however, at the same time, had a decrease of 15 to 20% of opioid overdose deaths. At the same time, the rest of the state was up 7%. Also, we have preliminary data for this year from the local medical examiner up to November, which shows an additional 15% decrease on top of the decrease from last year in opioid overdose deaths. So the things you do are really saving lives. We couldn't have done it without your help. So thank you. I'm asking you today, moving forward, to please consider us when it comes to the cost of living increase that the legislature has been proposing. There's an 8% increase proposed already, and we ask for your support for that. Last year, we got 5%, and the inflation rates are much higher, and the 8% would take us where we need to be. We're still, obviously, our attorneys, our prosecutors are still underpaid compared to the private sector, compared to even the statewide prosecutor's office in the public sector. But we are making do, and with your help, we can continue to try to retain the best people so that when they go to court to prosecute individuals accused of crimes, they're not first or second year lawyers facing up against experienced criminal defense lawyers. It costs more money to retrain people every time we lose someone. So we ask you for the cost of living adjustment. Now, for the best part, I've got these bills. We've got 7 bills, and in case you would like to sign on, I know some of you have signed on to some of them. Senator Polsky, for example, on the fentanyl test strips. Al Johnson will give you the final 2, but I'm going to give you 5 right now. So there's a proposal to eliminate gain time for attempted sex offenses. So under the law, you're entitled to getting out of prison with 85% of your prison time. The 15% that's left is called gain time. If you're good, you can get out early. But there are some statutes where you're not entitled to gain time, like sex offenses. Attempted sex offenses, though, are entitled to gain time. And sometimes we have to plead down a case of a sex offender to attempted sex offense because we don't want to put the victim through it again. The victim is so traumatized, we cut a deal. We say, we'll convict you of attempted sex battery, for example. The defendant takes the deal. That defendant has to register as a sex offender. It's part of the law. But then they're eligible for gain time because it's an attempt and not a successful, well, and sometimes actually it is successful, but we have to plead it down because the victim doesn't want to appear and would be so traumatized to do it again. So we're asking to close that loophole to eliminate gain time for attempted sex offenses that are convicted to make it equal with the completed sex offense. Okay, the second one is domestic battery. Under the law, If you're going through probation and you're convicted of domestic battery, there are some conditions in the law for your probation. You have to go to batter's intervention and so forth. But actually, there are some courts who have held that since the law does not specifically define domestic battery, they're all battery. Everything's a battery. And so you don't have to have those conditions. So think about it. You're a victim of domestic battery. There's a conviction, and then the offender has probation where they have to go through all these classes and hoops. There was a defendant recently who said, Your Honor, there is no definition of domestic battery in the law, so we don't have to attend any of these classes because my client was just convicted of battery. It's just battery under the law. It doesn't make any sense. And so we're asking to clarify that, to make sure that if you're convicted of domestic battery, it's domestic battery. I know, it's amazing I have to actually say that, but.
Yeah.
All right, the third one is some people who are charged with domestic battery, they go to court, and in their pretrial conditions, when they go get bond, the judge says no contact with victims, no drugs, alcohol, no guns. Well, there's an ambiguity now in the law because of the courts. There's an ambiguity as to whether you can prohibit someone from possessing guns as a condition of their pretrial release for domestic violence. It's uncertain, and we need to clarify that the court can say if you've been arrested for domestic violence while you're out on pretrial release, no guns. So that is an area of the law that's an ambiguity. Fourth, you're entitled to a bond for an automatic bond for a bunch of crimes, for many crimes. You don't even have to see a judge the next day. You don't have to go to first appearance. You get arrested, you go to jail, you bond out. There are some crimes where you have to see a judge, like domestic violence, because they don't want to just let you bond out and go home. You have to see a judge. Murder, all these, there's a lot of listed crimes like that. Written threats to kill someone is not listed as a dangerous crime under the law, nor is extortion. Both crimes we ask to be included in the list of crimes where you need to see a judge, where you can't just, when you make a written threat to kill someone, you get arrested for it. You can't just bond out before you see a judge. You got to see a judge, and then you get your bond. So we're just asking those crimes, written threats and extortion, to be included in the list of crimes where you don't automatically bond out. And by the way, I'll be working Christmas Day again. I look forward to, if you want to come join me on Christmas Day to do first appearances. Do you know, by the way, when you do first appearances on Christmas Day, where you see a lot of crimes, what kind of crimes do you see most often on Christmas Day that were committed the night before? Domestic violence, right. Because you see people who get together with their families, who they may not like, but they get together, and there's alcohol flowing. And then you see, it's really sad, actually, because you see people who've never been to a courthouse before, and they show up shell-shocked that they have to bail their family member out they got in a fight with the night before. All right, the last one is self-authenticating surveillance videos. All right, I admit this one's boring. I'm not going to spend time on it, but it's essentially allows us to self-authenticate these videos that we need for prosecution instead of tracking down the person who is in charge of the business records. There are certain records that are self-authenticating. You don't have to have someone technically go and authenticate it. It's just self-authenticating. It's actually an important part of what we need. Maybe if you're interested, if you have an extra bill slot or want to include it as an amendment, but I won't bore you any further with it. Now for the exciting stuff, fentanyl test strips. This was the one that failed on the last day of the session, or the second to last day. No one spoke against it except the bill sponsor said, we just can't do it this year for whatever reason. This would allow, and Al, actually, this is yours. Why don't you come up and discuss it? Sorry, this is Al Johnson.
The Sober Homes Task Force, which is now, by the way, Madam Chair, good morning.
Morning. Al.
Delegation members, good morning. Thank you so much for the good work that you do. And congratulations for those of you who have been reelected. The fentanyl test strip bill is a carve-out from what's called paraphernalia, drug paraphernalia, and the long and the short of it is, it's a harm reduction to allow people to be able to cheaply, inexpensively test to see whether a drug has fentanyl in it. You remember the four cadets from West Point who were out on spring break? They purchased cocaine, had no idea there was fentanyl in it, and 3 of them wound up in the hospital with an overdose. Well, they all got expelled, but they had no idea. If there was if CVS had a fentanyl test strip that they could just apply, and if it turned blue, there's fentanyl in it, and they know not to use it. They're really, 90% of the opioid overdose deaths had fentanyl present, and this is 2021, the medical examiner statewide, had fentanyl present or cause, mostly cause. And we are doing an extract from the actual raw data, and we'll get you the numbers. There are a number of overdose deaths that have no opioids except fentanyl, and might have marijuana and fentanyl, might have cocaine and fentanyl, might have a Xanax that somebody purchased on the street that was laced with fentanyl. They had no idea. This bill, which we adopted the language from Arizona, and I just read in the paper 2 days ago that Texas Governor Abbott has endorsed the legislature to pass this bill in Texas. We have the language in your packet. Senator Polsky, I believe that you're lifting that in the Senate. I'd like to see the language that you have, and hopefully it's the same. And if it's not, I'll make my pitch. But this is needed. It's a major harm reduction for people who have no idea that there's fentanyl present in something that they even Adderall. In Ohio, 2 students died. They bought Adderall on the street. There was fentanyl in it, and they died. This is last month. Anyway, that's the fentanyl bill. The now newly christened State Attorney Addiction Recovery Task Force, and I hate to bring this to you on Senator Harrell and on Representative Caruso. We just put finishing touches on it. You're going to get it. We'll be discussing it tomorrow at the task force meeting, the civilian task force meeting. There's 6 sections. 4 of them, it's hard to believe, doesn't make any sense, but did you know that one of the new whack-a-moles in terms of trying to lure people into recovery treatment in South Florida is, hey, we'll get you a marijuana card and you can smoke marijuana. So I reached out to DCF. DCF said there's nothing, they haven't officially responded. I've asked for it a month and a half ago, but I'm sure they will. I've been in touch with Doug Simon, and he says they're working on it. They say there's nothing in law or rule that prohibits marijuana in the recovering housing that's attached to addiction recovery treatment centers. 4 of these actually says DCF, you can't do it. Right now, you can't do it. Bless you. You can't do it in recovery residence that is certified. It's in statute. We lifted that language. We just put it in the licensure sections and said, in order to get a license, yeah, you have to prohibit alcohol, marijuana, illegal drugs, and prescriptions other than the prescriptions that are prescribed to the particular individual. So another individual can't use somebody else's prescription. Common sense for the 6 recommendations. There's another issue, and I don't want to beat up on an agency, and I'm not going to do it. But you all, some of you, were instrumental in 2017 for changing the landscape. That was the major bill that came before the legislature. One of the things was from now on out in getting a license, you have to have best practices. From now on, there are fines for certain classifications of violations for the treatment providers. And if you risk the safety of the individual or the group in your care, that you shall be fined by DCF. 2017 in July it went into effect. Anybody want to venture a guess as to how many fines were imposed? That's right. Goose head.
0.
0. We brought it to the attention and unofficially, the response I got was, we don't have any means in rule to implement fines. In other words, they've never developed the rules within DCF to implement the fines. So what we're asking to do is say, and we're giving them some time, by July 1st of 2024, I believe is in the legislation, you shall have a process to implement fines and assess fines. And that's basically the sum and substance.
Yeah, you gotta love Al Johnson. We don't want to beat up on an agency. We're not going to mention names, but its initials are DCF.
Did I say?
Chair, I have a question.
That's it.
Hang on
Yeah.
a second. Are you finished with
Yes,
your
thank you.
presentation?
Thank you.
Okay. Before we get to that, Representative Roth, I just want to congratulate both of you for the great news about opioid overdoses going down in our county. I know that you both have raised this issue to such great attention around the county and the nation, and I think it's a great testament to the work that you've done, so thank you very much. I'm excited to work on the fentanyl test strip bill. We have Representative Christine Hunchovsky on the House side who's ready to go, so we will continue to work with you on getting that. And I'm on criminal justice for the first time in 5 years, so maybe I'll be able to get a few of these bills through. So I'll be talking to you, State Attorney Arenberg, about some of the bills that I will be seeing in criminal justice. Representative Roth.
Yes, I have two questions. I don't know if Mr. Johnson wants to answer the first one. You mentioned that 90% of the opioid deaths were laced or had the presence of fentanyl. My question is, what percentage of overall overdose deaths in America, like in 2021, were fentanyl related? Do you know the answer to that?
I'd have to recheck, so I don't want to speak at it, but my recollection is around 76%.
Wow.
Of the overall opioid deaths had fentanyl present or cause. It might be a little bit less than that. It might be as low as 64%, but it's a chunk of the overall. 76% of all overdose deaths are opioid related. I can tell you that in terms of the medical examiner's report in 2021 in the entire state of Florida.
Okay, thank you. I have another question, Chair.
Yes,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
This is a funny question, but I'd like to ask it anyway. Isn't the purpose of earning gain time in prison a kind of a social intervention, behavior, good behavior? You're an excellent prisoner, you do all the things you're supposed to do so you can gain time. So I don't quite understand why even an attempted sex offender doesn't have it wouldn't be a benefit for them to be able to gain time.
Madam Chair, originally we had a parole system where people would let out early on parole, and then we abolished parole. And instead we set up a system in lieu of parole where you get, for most crimes, you get automatic gain time. Well, you get the eligibility for gain time, where you serve 85% of your sentences. For most crimes. Other crimes, you have to serve day for day. So the current law is that you serve day for day for certain serious crimes, including sex crimes. But the gap in the law is that if it's an attempted battery as opposed to a completed one, you are eligible for gain time. And because of the way things are with victims who are traumatized by a completed sexual battery, sometimes we have to plea these cases to settle it so the victim does not have to testify to an attempted sex bat, where the person under the law has to register as a sex offender. So under the law, we treat them like we treat the person who completes a sex battery because they have to register as a sex offender even if they didn't complete the crime. So we're saying let's make it the same. Once you're in prison, we're not eligible for gain time.
Thank you.
Representative Caruso?
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank the state attorney and Al Johnson for your work over the last 5 years that I've been involved with you gentlemen, in the sober home industry, the drug addiction industry. It's to see the benefits, the payoff now, 5 years later, is just well, it's a credit to all your hard work, and I want to thank you. It's been an honor to work with you over these years, and look forward to continuing that this session.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you for being the sponsor of so many of our bills.
Vice Chair Harrell?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I too want to say thank you for everything you've done. I think what Palm Beach County has done is the model for the country, and I hope that you are selling that model around, especially in the state. When I look at the numbers of deaths in Palm Beach County compared to other areas, it's phenomenal what is happening here versus the rest of the state. And I would encourage other counties to do the same kinds of things. And I hope that you're kind of maximizing that to other counties. But I think that as we move forward with the requirement on fines, can you give us any, perhaps you can address this, Al, what seems to be, other than they have not implemented a rule, did the legislation not require that they do this? So I'm not sure I understand what's happening there.
I can't speak for the department. There are 4 classifications of fines, 2 of which say that if there's a certain type of violation that involves the health and safety of either the individual or the community, that it says the department shall impose a fine. 2 of the 4 say if it's corrected, the fine does not need to be assessed. All I can say is it's a bureaucratic snafu where they just haven't turned their attention to actually implementing a process. It's as simple as that. If I realized it 2 years ago, I would have brought it up 2 years ago. I've asked them for public records on how many fines and how many licenses have been revoked, suspended, or denied. I haven't gotten that yet, but I've been told that the number is going to be 0 on the fines. So I can't answer. It just wasn't on their front burner. That's the best I can say for them.
Bring us legislation and we'll look at it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Did someone on this side have a question? Senator Powell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? Thank you. State Attorney Ehrenberg, I got a few questions, if that's okay. Sorry. What is the starting salary now? You talked about a cost of living adjustment for state's attorneys. What is the current starting salary, and what are we trying to accomplish in terms of getting them to?
Thank you for your question, Senator Powell. It's $60,000. So a first-year lawyer, a prosecutor with 6 figures of debt over their heads will sit at a table in a case next to a police officer from Boca Raton, a first-year police officer, and that police officer will be making $20,000 or $30,000 more than the prosecutor. And look, part of the problem is that they'll get paid twice as much in a private firm. And I realize that we offer other advantages, meaningful work, quality of life, an incredible boss to work for. But it is difficult with inflation, cost of living, to live off $60,000. We have prosecutors serve as waiters on the side. One famously served as a valet. It happens. And so that's why the cost of living matters. Every bit really does help.
Thank you. Follow up?
Yes.
Not to that, actually. Can you explain to me, I know you said that the gain time, I think I missed something. Is gain time currently 85%? What is gain time at this point?
Yeah.
Because I know you said there's legislation, and then you want to talk about the other 15%. What's current gain time?
Sure. Senator, the gain time is 15%. So under the law, someone sentenced to prison serves 85% of their sentence. They're eligible for up to 15% gain time. Usually they get it unless they're really bad in prison. That's for most crimes, not for all. Some crimes, serious crimes, you serve day for day.
Thank you.
Sure.
Another question is, you had a number of great pieces of legislation. I wanted to know, and maybe I've been oblivious to this, how does one find out more about your legislation as proposed? Do our offices reach out to you, or you have specific legislators that you reach out to if they want to run bills?
Sure, you can either reach out to me or Al Johnson or Mark Freeman, who are here. And you have our phone number, and it's 561-355-7100. Just ask for us. And we really enjoy working with you. And I expect to be in Tallahassee with Al and Mark at the first week of session for Palm Beach County Days. And that's when we also lobby on behalf of the Florida Prosecuting Attorneys Association.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Final question, and I know this is a question many people probably want to know. It popped into my head. As it relates to the test strips and the cadets, you said there were 4 cadets who overdosed purchasing cocaine. The question I have is, had they had test strips, would those cadets possibly have been able to do the cocaine, been okay, and be serving today in their field of choice?
The test strips are a very inexpensive way of testing drugs to see if fentanyl is present. And what happened with the cadets is that they were doing cocaine and there was fentanyl present, and they overdosed. And one of the individuals giving them mouth-to-mouth overdosed himself because he got the fentanyl high from one of the other cadets. And so it wasn't just the people who were doing drugs. So there's some people saying, hey, they're doing drugs, they assume the risk, but there shouldn't be a death sentence. And also the people who are there innocently shouldn't have to be rushed to the hospital when a cheap strip would have told you. And the argument against it, there was one, I said there were no arguments against it, but there was one argument against it. It said, hey, you don't need this, it's already legal now on Amazon. You can already buy it on Amazon. And the answer is no, it's not legal. You can buy it on Amazon, but if you're found to have bought it, you're committing a crime. You can be arrested. And that's why you don't see these strips pretty much anywhere. They should be given out, I think, just like Narcan is given out. It would save lives. That's harm reduction.
Thank you.
Questions on that way? Representative Skidmore?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, State Attorney Ehrenberg. We have been working on this opioid issue for many years together. We share that as a passion and worked together on creating the prescription drug monitoring program many, many years ago. So I appreciate all of the efforts. And your last comment was the one that I was going to make. That argument was made by on the House floor that the sponsor of the bill that did not want the fentanyl strips a part of his bill had purchased the strips on Amazon, and it was a crime. So I am looking forward to co-sponsoring that bill with my colleague, Representative Hunchofsky, and making sure that we do that harm reduction as well as the Narcan that is life-saving, and appreciate all your efforts to make sure that public servants in first responders have that available to them as well. And the Palm Beach County Medical Society Opioid Task Force has worked very closely with you in the past, and I offer that as still a help to further the reduction of opioid deaths in Palm Beach County as our dual passion. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Skidmore. Thanks for all your great work on this. Also, marijuana has largely been decriminalized in Florida, and yet there are a number of people who overdose on fentanyl-laced marijuana. So we have a state policy that says, hey, we're decriminalizing it, but at the same time, people are dying. People have died from smoking marijuana laced with fentanyl. A strip would reveal that the fentanyl exists.
Madam Chair, point of clarity.
Yes.
I just want to be clear, so there's no misunderstanding, that I support the idea of fentanyl test strips. My concern is that there were cadets who were potentially going to be police officers who were in a training program that had the audacity to be doing cocaine, and they would have been on the force. And that gives me grave concern with the idea that you know what you're supposed to be doing. And in this case, because they overdosed, they were expelled from the program. But had they not, they would have been police officers. And I just, and not to belabor a point, but that I agree we need to save life, but that concerns me.
Senator, if I could.
Go ahead.
They were West Point cadets, so they weren't going to be
Okay.
police officers, right? They were going into the military.
Military.
Yeah. Well, that's another issue. If they want drug testing, that's another issue, I think. But I don't think it should keep us from saving lives through the strips.
I never said, I don't think that's not a problem. And
Representative Roth,
it's,
with another bite at the apple.
Understood.
Thank you, Chair. I should have asked this question the first time. It really is probably the most important question. Y'all mentioned that Palm Beach County is the only county that has a Sober Homes Task Force. So if you want to provide us information on what other counties might be good candidates to have their own Sober Homes Task Force, I'm sure everybody on this Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation would love to brag about how good we're doing in Palm Beach County. I mean, obviously, it's a bad news, good news story. We were in really serious trouble, and now we're doing much better. But we would love to promote that to some other representatives, too.
Broward. And Hillsborough, those are real problem areas for this problem. And a lot of the corrupt actors are moving to those communities. And we're the only office in the country that has this task force. And we've implored our colleagues in other parts of the state. But every state attorney's office is independent. They're all constitutional officers. Hopefully you can help convince them.
Thank you. All right, well, I think we've asked a lot of good questions. Thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to, before we get back to the presenters, I'm so sorry, I'll be right back to you. I wanted to give Representative Silvers an opportunity to introduce himself, his district, and any staff that are here.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry I was late. I'm David Silvers, for State Representative for House District 89, which is West Palm Beach, Lake Worth, Green Acres, Palm Springs, Lake Clark Shores, and now Atlantis and Lantana. I do want to mention Christy Fernley, my legislative aide, is here. If you want to get up and say hi. No? Okay. Yeah, you can get a clap. And thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Representative. And Representative Edmonds, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Apologize for being late. I am Representative Javante Edmonds, representing District 88, which covers Riviera Beach, West Palm Beach, Royal Palm Beach, Mangonia Park. And I'm excited to be here. Also, I have my legislative assistant here, Angel Buchanan, somewhere in the room. Well, just want to give her a round of applause as well.
Thank you. Okay, well, we're going to get back to our presenters. Claudia, thank you for being so patient. We'll start with Claudia Bartow, and then we're moving to Dwight Chenette from Area Agency on Aging.
Hello, my name's Claudia Kirk Bartow, President of Junior Achievement of the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast. And our mission is to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in a global economy through classroom programs and simulations that focus on financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship. Junior Achievement is dedicated to giving young people the knowledge and skills they need to own their economic success, plan for the future, and make smart academic and economic choices. Our programs seek to ignite the spark in young people to recognize the opportunities and realities of work and life. We have been preparing the future workforce locally for over 40 years. Since the pandemic, our local impact has surged from 20,000 to over 70,000 students this past year through the use of technology and collaborations with 120 local schools and nonprofit organizations, Palm Beach to Pahokee, and Boynton to Sebastian. Junior Achievement exists so that all kids, regardless of background, receive the tools they need to build a future for themselves in which they're optimistic, economically self-sufficient, and determined with the belief in the power of free enterprise. Junior Achievement prepares students to develop successful financial management habits, empowers them to explore the potential of becoming an aspiring entrepreneur, and provides them with the skills necessary to succeed in a global workforce. That's a mouthful. One of our newest initiatives is 3DE by Junior Achievement. The mission of 3DE is to systemically re-engineer high school education by creating equitable access to high-quality education and providing economic opportunity to all students by combining core competency development with business case methodology. The 3DE instructional model better prepares students for academic success and life beyond the classroom walls. As a catalyst for change, both in our school districts and across the country, 3DE by Junior Achievement gives our students the skills, competence, industry exposure needed to lead financially empowered lives and meet the demands of the 21st century global economy. And lastly, in collaboration with Junior Achievement Florida Foundation, we're working with 3DE and other markets in our state to present an appropriations request. Our goal is to secure funding that will propel 3DE to the next level of expansion across Florida, allowing us to expand to more schools, bring 3DE to new school districts, and create lasting partnerships with the Department of Education and other organizations in order to scale 3DE to its fullest potential. I did it. Any questions?
Great job.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Representative Waldron.
How do you involve the business community? By the way, I really appreciate you being here, and I think your organization is great. It's I know growing up in Washington D.C., it was big up there too. So thank you. How do you involve the business community with what you're doing?
Well, I think a great example, and I think they're in your district, yesterday at Green Acres Elementary, we had all sorts of business leaders from agriculture to police officers and sheriff deputies doing a career day at Green Acres Elementary. So we're bringing the community in the classroom, whether they're government, the teachers can now teach our programs, and then we also have, obviously, the business community and banks, everything. The clerk and comptroller's office are amazing volunteers. So any one of you that wants to volunteer can come anytime, and we'll work with your schedules in your districts.
Thank you.
Question? Madam Chair.
Yes. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. Claudia, also thank you for being here. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your work. When it comes to 3Ds, the idea of, empowering students financially, and that's one of the biggest things that we can do to guarantee or at least push towards success. How many 3Ds are there across the state, if you know, and how exactly does that work?
I know that was a mouthful, right? Re-engineering high school education. So we are in 12 high schools across the state of Florida, but predominantly Hillsborough and Tampa area, the West Coast over there. Broward has their first schools this year, and then Orlando, the Orlando area. So there are 12 schools across the state, and we're looking to grow to 17 next school year. So our first one is at Lake Worth High School, and it's a school within a school. So they can be a part of other academies, but they're really learning through the lens of business. And then next year, we'll be launching at William T. Dwyer High School in Palm Beach Gardens.
Madam Chair.
Representative Edmonds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Bartow, for your presentation. Could you just tell us about, and maybe you said it, just some of the learning outcomes that comes from 3DE?
Sure. So thank you for the question. Really, the focus is on having those young people understand core competencies, which I spoke of, and there are 6. So I'm going to read them so I don't miss any of those core competencies. And just so you all can hear. Whoops, I lost my mask. Thank you, Dave. They learn self-direction, engaging communications, effective collaboration, cultural agility, critical and analytical thinking, and creativity and innovation. And they do that through case challenges. So in 9th and 10th grade, they have 3 local cases and 3 national cases. So Spanx was one of the national cases. You think Spanx, like ladies wear? Yeah, no. They had to figure out critical and analytical thinking. Where would they relocate a warehouse in the United States? And they had to look at, what the economy was in that community, what shipping, or how would they get the products across the country. So it was really all the math. And these young ladies that won that case, it was 4 young women, they did the entire presentation to the panel of judges with no notes. It was amazing. And they were quoting the square footage of these warehouses and transportation costs and unemployment rates in 10th grade.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was just one of the outcomes. Any other questions? Thank you for the great question.
Just wanted to ask you, you mentioned an appropriation. Are you already working with anyone, or are you familiar with the process to get it through?
Yes, so it's not just us. We are working throughout the state. So the offices that have the programs are also working with the Southern group. So we have a team that are educating us as well. So there are some people that are, some representatives and senators that are interested in other districts. So we're figuring out who. But if you're interested, I'd love to follow up with you and share more information.
I'm glad you'll be in good hands with
Yes.
that group. Okay. Thank you so much, Claudia.
Thank you so much.
Dwight D. Chenette, CEO, Area Agency on Aging, Palm Beach and Treasure Coast. Welcome, Dwight.
Good morning, and thank you. For the record, my name is Dwight Chenette, and I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the Florida Association of Area Agencies on Aging and as the CEO of your local Area Agency on Aging of Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast. In your packet, you have a two-page flyer that discusses what we do around the state and our legislative priorities, and I'll just take a few moments here and summarize. In summary, we support seniors through cost-effective home and community-based programs that help frail seniors remain at home and avoid costly nursing home care. We do that by operating what's called an Aging and Disability Resource Center, which is a statewide helpline for seniors and adults with disabilities. We assist consumers with eligibility, intake, and screening for long-term care programs, including the state Medicaid managed long-term care. And we manage state and federally funded programs for home and community-based programs through contracts with the Department of Elder Affairs, which are then delivered locally by providers in our community. We have three priorities this year. First priority is to increase the funding to support the workload associated with our ADRC operations. And again, we have an integrated helpline that assists and serves as a gateway to seniors across the state. The Department of Elder Affairs has included in their legislative budget request approximately $1.6 million to enhance that funding for the local AAAs. The second priority is to support increased funding for Florida's general revenue funded programs for home and community-based services. And specifically, these programs include community care for the elderly, home care for the elderly, and the Alzheimer's Disease Initiative. Again, the Department of Elder Affairs legislative budget request includes increased funding for these programs, community care for the elderly, a $2 million increase, home care for the elderly, a $3 million increase, and Alzheimer's Disease Initiative based on the needs across the state of $10 million. The third priority is less specific, and it's supporting increased funding for affordable housing and homeless assistance programs that may assist seniors at risk of eviction or homelessness. Appreciate your time today and welcome the opportunity to meet with you individually. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Catherine Cabanzan, Florida Dental Hygienists Association. You can help me on the pronunciation of your last name. Next up is Kat Holland.
It's Catherine Cabanzone. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, delegation members. My name is Catherine Cabanzone. I'm a registered licensed dental hygienist in the great state of Florida. I live in Palm Beach County. I also work at Palm Beach State College as an adjunct 1 day a week. And I just finished my term last year for 9.5 years on the Florida Board of Dentistry. On behalf of the Florida Dental Hygienists Association, our state's most vulnerable residents who face challenges reaching affordable access to care and dental care, I would like to ask that you support some legislation that will be filed very soon that will make some very small changes to the 2011 Health Access Law that was passed, which allows dental hygienists to perform specific preventive services in health access settings. So the legislation would be changing very small things and adding for dental hygienists to be able to place temporary fillings in health access settings. Many times these children are coming in and there's big holes in their teeth. And if we could put the temporary filling in there, it would prevent the food or bacteria from getting in, hoping to hold off until the child can see a dentist. Additionally, dental hygienist in the state of Florida under general supervision means a dentist doesn't have to be in practice. We're allowed to do that without our dentist in practice now, presently. So it'd be wonderful that we could do this to the children in these health access settings. We want to also be able to expand locations where the dental mobile units go, and they can actually be billed through ACA. Presently, ACA will only bill in certain settings. So if we could expand where they could go into some of these health access settings, such as Head Start centers, they could probably be able to run and function and bill through ACA. and then remove unnecessary barriers that are in the health access law now. Presently, a child is allowed to have what we call a prophylaxis, which is a child cleaning. The child is allowed to have that unauthorized, unsupervised by a dentist, by the licensed hygienist, but the child then must go and see a dentist within 13 months or they cannot have it again. Most of these children are receiving these services in these settings because they don't have a dentist. We do have a shortage of Medicaid dentists, and also in this county we have a shortage. So just being able to remove those few little barriers, help the mobile units expand, and then be able to place a temporary filling that self-adjusts. There's no reason that it could harm anybody. You can actually purchase the material at CVS and do it yourself at home, but it'd be better if a licensed hygienist did it for these children and close up some of those holes till they could go and see. So we're working with a state coalition called Floridians for Dental Access, and we are also working with the American Children's Campaign on this initiative. I thank you all for your time, and I hope you will support the bill when you see it.
Thank you so much. A question from Senator Berman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation and for your leadership in the Hygienist Society.
Thank you.
And on the Board of Governors. Have you worked with the Florida Dental Association on this bill also?
We presently are, yes. We've had meetings with their lobbyist, Ms. Joanne Hart and Alexandra Aboud. Yes, we are. We're in discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Representative Roth?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, ma'am, for being here.
Thank you.
I see you are with the Florida Dental Hygienists Association, so my question is, what's the other side of the story? We've had several issues over the last couple of years, you know, doctors and nurses and allowing nurses to do more medical care and all that, and it gets kind of pretty controversial. It seems, you know, it doesn't sound like your presentation is controversial, but what's the other side? Why would anybody be against what you're asking?
I don't really know if anybody is against it. We are in discussion with the Dental Association because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to come together. When you work in any healthcare setting, there is a need for every single person in that healthcare, and we're supposed to work as a team. So we are coming together with the Dental Association, so we're hoping there will be no opposition because it's not a scope issue. It's just being able to expand reach, and maybe the only other addition is be able to place an adjustable temporary filling. Thank you for your question. That was great. Thank you. Any other?
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And
I'd like
I'm
to
sure we'll
thank
see
you
you in
all.
Tallahassee.
Yes, thank you all for your service, too.
Thank you. Kat Holland, Sierra Club, Climate Reality River of Grass UU Congregation.
Among many others.
That's a mouthful. And up next, Gil Smart.
Before you start the clock, I just want to kind of focus because I'm so excited to be here. I'm not nervous or anxious, just really excited. So take a deep breath. Okay. I would briefly mention the Sierra Club and Linda Smith had already talked about the Stop the Burn campaign and climate change, climate reality, and the lowering of carbon emissions. But I feel that would be a moot point because it's already been stated. And there are some things I feel are more important that I feel passionate about, and I'll thank you as you listen closely. Distinguished legislators, sandhill cranes are found throughout many communities and need your help. They blend in with the road, slow to cross the road, and not as smart as you and I. Even though they're 3 to 4 feet tall, they're hard to see, especially at dusk and dawn, and don't know they will get killed if they're in your way and you don't see them in time. They hang out by oak trees, a primary food source, which were planted along the perimeter roads in my community, developed by DeVosta. Most folks know them, have named them, care for their safety. But it only takes one distracted driver. We have had at least one killed every year, usually a colt in Village Walk. They're protected under the Federal Migratory Bird Act, but that doesn't mean they won't get hit. It means if the killer is found, they'll be responsible to pay big money. Some folks don't care and haven't read the law. They'll probably be the ones not paying attention. Which brings me to my point. The Migratory Bird Act becomes just another piece of paper if it's not enacted. So here's the dilemma. Who's responsible for their demise? The state or the developers who plant these trees along busy roadways. I think it's a lawsuit, but I'm not an attorney. I'm a citizen, an independent voter, asking you to protect them from developers like DeVosta, who plant oak trees, one of their food sources for many migratory birds, along perimeter roads in communities like mine. And county and state roads, as seen throughout Palm Beach, Broward, Dade, and numerous other roads in Florida. They need your help, and I'm asking you all to propose legislation which would make developers throughout the state and county and the nation to be vigilant when they plan a community. The planting of oak trees or other food sources for these and other migratory birds along busy roads where they may get hit is irresponsible and against the law, federal law. I'd like legislation that will hold developers and HOAs accountable for their deaths. In my community, one gets hit every year. People speed along the perimeter roads. Sandhill cranes walk slow and blend into the pavement. They don't know any better, and apparently in my community, people don't care and certainly don't care about the law or speeding. There are signs, but they only attract just one sense, and that's sight. I proposed rumble strips, which are 3 senses, but they were aesthetically denied. That leads me to drivers. We have a problem in South Florida. People don't know or read the actual law written in 48 states for the safety of motorists. Most folks think it's about the speed limit, but it's not. Even some law enforcement officers don't know. And I've had many conversations.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, the time is up.
Well, can I just propose one thing?
Very quickly, please.
Well, it's about a PSA which might alleviate, because it's such a big problem in Florida. We have drivers who don't know the law, and the law states that you must stay to the right except for passing. People who are driving in the center lane, and that is not safe. It's not the law. The law was written for safety of all people. That far left lane is an emergency lane for emergency responders, and when people drive slow in that lane, it stops the safety responders from getting to where they need to go.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Next up, Gil Smart, Policy Director, Friends of the Everglades. And after Gil is Melody Sandberg McDonald.
Good morning, delegation. Whoops. My name is Gil Smart, and I'm Policy Director for Friends of the Everglades. We're founded in 1969 by Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and we're based in Stewart. Our goal is to protect, preserve, and restore the only Everglades in the world, a key environmental and economic resource for Palm Beach County and all of South Florida. We're in the process of finalizing our legislative priorities for the 2023 session. We'll certainly get your offices an electronic copy when we have those. But I'd like to touch on several of our top priorities today, which includes implementing additional recommendations from the Blue-Green Algae Task Force, finding ways to send more clean water south and reducing harmful discharges from Lake Okeechobee, opposing attempts to implement seagrass mitigation banking, and stopping sugarcane burning. On the first item, you're likely aware that the Clean Waterways Act of 2020 included some recommendation from the Blue-Green Algae Task Force, but not all of them. There was an attempt to rectify that in part last year. I believe Representative Caruso was a co-sponsor of House Bill 561. That proposed legislation went nowhere. We understand that it or similar legislation will be introduced this year. We will certainly support it. We ask that you do the same. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and officials with the South Florida Water Management District are predicting significant blue-green algae blooms on Lake Okeechobee this year, which could be bad news across the board. Let's not wait for another crisis to take bold action. The bold action Florida's best scientists have recommended that we take. On sending water south, you likely know the Army Corps has nearly completed the new Lake Okeechobee Systems Operating Manual, or LOSOM, which should cut harmful discharges to the coasts, send more water south to the Everglades, and safeguard water supply. But even if LOSOM works as advertised, even once the EAA reservoir is complete, it will not end harmful discharges. To do that, we need additional land for stormwater treatment areas for holding, cleaning, and conveying water, and capacity in the existing 60,000 acres of STAs should be prioritized to protect public health and the environment,
not big industrial sugarcane growers. Seagrass mitigation banking is a measure that's been introduced each of the past 2 sessions. It's going to come back this year because bad ideas never die in Florida. Essentially, this would make it okay to destroy seagrass over here so long as you plant some new seagrass over here. But with seagrass dying off statewide and manatees starving and dying at near record rates, this proposal borders on irresponsible. Seagrass is notoriously difficult to grow, and even the best studies include little long-term monitoring, meaning seagrasses that do well after a few years, we don't know how well they're doing after 5, 10 years. Bottom line, Florida cannot afford any measure that would make it easier to destroy seagrass, period. Finally, we've campaigned against the obvious injustice of sugarcane burning. Palm Beach County emits more particulate matter from agricultural fires than any other county nationwide, according to the EPA. We have recently completed a documentary mini-series on our website and social media feeds called The Last Burn Season, whereby we interviewed people who have suffered from sugarcane burning. I invite you to take a look at that series. Legislation, we supported the passage of Senate Bill 88, or rather, legislation that would have repealed a measure in Senate Bill 88 last year that protects the sugar companies from being sued over particulate matter. That legislation, if or when that legislation is reintroduced this year, we ask you to support it. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you so much. Melody Sandberg McDonald, Florida Medical Rights Association, and after Melody is Donna Colabella.
Hi, thank you. My first delegation meeting that I came to was in 2017, and I came here because my father had died of a black box contraindicated combination of sedatives given to him in a hospital 3 days after my mother had died. This put him in a free kill category. It's what we call it. He was unmarried and had no minor children, and therefore I was denied access to a court of law, and he was deemed to have no equal rights. I left that delegation meeting full of hope and started a grassroots movement, thinking that this is a no-brainer, it's an immoral law, and I'm going to change it. And here I am, 6 years later, still without it being changed. I couldn't have been more off the mark. Today, in all honesty, I wanted to express my disappointment to the Senate in particular. The House of Representatives has passed a partial repeal 2 times. There is a senator who's filed 2 years in a row to repeal this law. They had bipartisan support, 6 or 8 sponsored. I'd honestly have to go back and look it up. None of them from this panel in my home county where I'm leading a movement, with either promises to support it or unreturned calls. It's all that I have from you guys, our representatives. And so I wanted to acknowledge that I understand that for politicians, this is a complicated issue, that there are dollars at stakes and corporations' voices that are heard very loudly over the voice of the people, and I understand that. I want you to understand that for the people that want equal protection, that have suffered at the hands of negligent, grossly negligent and the care, and lost someone that they don't really care about the voice of the corporations, and a lot of them wish that you would hear their voices. I wanted to also extend to you on that note that our movement has largely become a support group where twice a month we have Zoom meetings and people come and talk and share their stories. A couple of examples this year that come to mind are a 42-year-old man who died from a botched hernia surgery that should have been very simple. A woman who her father had surgery, and the physician called her afterwards and said, I'm really sorry I called to apologize because I was drunk when I operated on your father. And, it's completely my fault. And these people have no rights to access a court of law. And one who's spoken here before and will speak again today, that the doctor just didn't close his mom up after surgery, right? And the numbers are growing. I want you to be aware that the movement is keeping everyone together, that I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to support me if you don't want to, but I will be here. I'll be here next year. I'll be here the year after, and we have more people joining every day. I also want to very quickly extend an invitation that if any of you want to come to the support group and hear from advocates themselves, because all advocates are victims, then I would welcome you and send you a link. That's 7 p.m. every other Wednesday.
Thank you so much. Any questions, comments? Yes, Representative Silvers.
Thank you, Chair. Really quick question. It states on this form here that you spoke to Representative Roach, or Representative Roach is going to file legislation this session?
I have spoken with him. I'm not sure if he is going to file it again this session because it's kind of, I know you guys only have a set number of bills, and it's a little bit pointless if the Senate still refuses to hear it.
Okay, so he did file it last session.
He filed last session and the session before a partial repealer, and it passed the full House
Okay.
both times.
I'll talk to Representative Roach. I let my grandfather, same situation.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
We would support you if you want to come talk about it.
Of course.
For sure. And I do appreciate the House. You guys have been really great at listening to the people and hearing the problems and putting the voice of the people above the voice of the corporations. Thank you.
Representative Roth.
Thank you, Chair. I want to echo the sentiments of Representative Silvers. I lost my sister. She has no children and no parents when she passed away, and so under the what we call I guess it's the no-kill bill, we're not allowed to bring a lawsuit, which we wanted to do. So I fully support what you're doing, and I would love to have your information, so I'd love to talk with you later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sorry for your loss.
I had a question.
Yes, Representative Waldron.
I have just a very basic question, but are we unique in our state? Do other?
Yes, we are the only state with this law. There is a similar law in the state of Wisconsin that I think I'm no expert on that law, but it's similar. But we are the only state with the law. And part of the problem too is there's a lot of privatized hospitals here. So this law gives them a little bit of a loophole to allow them to hedge their bets, which causes issues like short staffing, which causes patient safety issues, and subsequently causes more death. If we would clean up the accountability, okay, because the cases I just mentioned to you, none of them, absolutely none of them were heard by the health department. I know it does happen, but they're overwhelmed too, and you know.
Thank you.
Senator Powell.
Thank you. Can you tell me who was the Senate sponsor?
Yes, Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez, she's in Miami-Dade.
Okay. So you said it did not move at all in the Senate? Did she tell you, is there a specific reason?
I did visit with her. We have a team that goes to Tallahassee every year, and she just was unable to get the bill slated for the agenda for the appropriate committees. It was both last year and the year before. She files two separate bills, one to repeal the half where you would lose a child who falls in the category, and the other to repeal the half that refers a parent.
Thank you. Comment. I'll just say that don't get discouraged. Keep pushing forward. There are many bills that are filed every year that sometimes pass the Senate, don't pass the House, sometimes pass the House, don't pass the Senate. We recently passed the Care for Retired Law Enforcement Dogs. It passed the Senate almost every year. Finally, last year, it passed the House. So I think we had been filing that since Senator Abruzzo was in the Senate. And I was in the House, and now it finally passed. So don't get discouraged. Just keep moving forward. Unfortunately, it's a hard process that we all have to deal with, even those of us who are sitting on this side in the elected positions. And I'm sure Senator Rodriguez has probably told you the same thing.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's something that I have considered letting go of many times, but then more people knock on my door crying, and I just can't not hold the space for them. So thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Donna Colabello, Chair of PBC Floridians for the National Popular Vote.
Good morning. My name is Donna Colabella, and I am a resident of Palm Beach County and a pretty new member of Floridians for National Popular Vote, and an even newer district chair of Palm Beach County for Floridians for Popular Vote. Excuse me. I'm here today for two reasons. One is to ask you to consider co-sponsoring this bill and getting it heard in the House and the Senate in the state of Florida. The second reason I'm here is to give you a few highlights of this bill. So I'd like to say that the National Popular Vote bill would guarantee the presidency to the candidate who receives the most votes in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. It does not abolish the Electoral College, and it works within the Constitution framework. The Constitution gives the state's legislator the power to decide how the electors are awarded. The national popular vote is a nonpartisan issue and has been embraced by members of both parties. According to the Pew Research Center's 2022 survey, 63% of Americans want the winner of the popular vote nationwide to win the presidency. And according to an earlier study done in Florida, 68% of Floridians approve of electing the president by national popular vote. Bills have been put forward in the Florida House and Senate every year since 2017. And for 2023 session, Representative Gottlieb and Senator Torres are filing the bills. The current system of electing the president can be problematic, as we know. The person receiving fewer votes can be elected president. And the power of each person's vote is different, which violates the ideal of one person, one vote. The current system is open to manipulation, finding or disallowing a few ballots in key states that can alter the outcome of the election nationwide. The National Popular Vote Bill has already been enacted into law by 15 states and the District of Columbia with 195 electoral votes. It needs an additional 25 electoral votes to go into effect. Once the states representing 270 electoral votes have passed the bill, the president will be elected by the national popular vote across the nation. I thank you very much for your service and for your time that you've given me this morning. And I would just urge you to consider co-sponsoring this bill.
Thank you very much. Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll turn to our public comment. Again, we have 3 minutes. We'll start with Mark Hoppin from Alpert Jewish Family Service, followed by Danielle Hartman.
Hi, I'm Mark Hoppin, the CEO for Alpert Jewish Family Service. We're based in West Palm Beach off of 45th Street with locations in Boynton Beach and in Palm Beach Gardens. I just want to thank you, Madam Chairwoman, for having us here today and for being here today, and also to Representative Caruso, Senator Berman, and Representative Silvers for supporting our appropriations request in whether it was last year or in prior years. We'll be bringing back appropriations requests centered around our mental health first aid initiative and looking to expand that to some other counties and around the state of Florida. You also support our Community Access Lifeline service, and also we'll be looking to have you support that again and expanding some of the work with that. And we're also part of a Tri-County initiative with my friend Danielle Hartman from Ruth Rails. We're collaborating with her as well as agencies in Broward and in Miami to provide mental health services to people that are underserved. And we're also going to be looking to submit another Tri-County request to be able to provide in-home care and other older adult services to people that are underserved. Our agency serves about 12,500 people in our service area, which is from Boynton Beach, and we actually, for Holocaust survivors, go as far north as Vero Beach, providing a large menu of human services. I do have some folders that I'm probably stick in front of Vicki, and hopefully you'll take a folder from Vicki. I just probably maybe shouldn't do this, but first of all, Senator Powell, I just heard you speak to a woman up here, and I just really appreciate how you spoke to her and the words you said. If you're ever looking for a job in human services, Senator Powell, you please apply. It was really wonderful what you said, but it made me think of something else. And as the leader of a Jewish agency, I don't think I can give up this opportunity. Maybe I should have, but what's going on with anti-Semitism now is it's as bad as it's ever been. Really since the Holocaust time. Our two agencies, we serve well over 1,000 Holocaust survivors. There are well over 1,000 Holocaust survivors living, probably closer to 2,000 living in Palm Beach County. We've seen this before. We've seen this kind of rhetoric before, and there's a difference now, and particularly, trying to put a rift between the Black community and the Jewish community. I just returned from our Jewish federations had us go on I signed up voluntarily to go on a mission. I went to Atlanta, I went to Selma, to Montgomery, to Birmingham, met civil rights survivors. There's a lot of good and some bad history between the Black community and the Jewish community when it comes to this, but a lot of good, and Representative Edmonds, I think I've met you once before. You're a CEO, nonprofit CEO as well, I know. I think I met you there. And Senator Powell, I welcome, the opportunity to have our communities come together, and anyone that wants to join in that. I think it's now. We need to do that now. Thank you again. Thank you all for your time.
Senator Berman?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, Mark, for what you guys are doing. And I also just wanted to say, Palm Beach County actually has a project in response to the trip that you took to Alabama. I'm sure you guys know about it. Where we are working to get with the Equal Justice Institute to get the memorials here in Palm Beach County for people who were killed in lynchings. So I just wanted to advise everyone about it because it's a great project and you'll be reading about it in the paper and things, and I encourage everyone to get involved with it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Representative Edmonds.
Thank you for your presentation. As I appreciate your comments about working together and bringing cultures together. I welcome that opportunity. I think there's a lot of misconceptions and misinformation out there, and I think this is definitely an opportunity to bring two cultures together. So thank you for that comment.
Yeah, thank you, Representative. And on this mission, we learned, again, the history wasn't perfect, during the civil rights movement. There were some Jews that were very involved and some that chose, to sit it out, and even a couple that were part of the bad guys. And that's just history. But today, I think there's so much to be gained by you and me and others working together.
Representative Caruso?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mark, I just wanted to thank you for your exemplary, your organizations and yours exemplary work in the field of mental health, illness, providing training. And to let everybody know, you provide training to first responders to recognize mental health. You provide mental health services. And here in Palm Beach County, we've got the emergency call center, which people can call in that are dealing with mental health issues and get professional services and recommendations and referrals to where they can get help. So, it's an area that mental health is an area that is really underserviced. Yeah. And your organization, JFS, is a leader getting out there to provide these services. So we thank you very much.
Thank you. And both us and Ruth Rails, and just for you and for your staff in particular, our main phone numbers are 684-1991, her 852-3333. If you have a constituent with a problem, you just need to call us. We either have a service for them or we know all about the services that are available, human services that are available in the community to be able to help someone. And that's what that call service is able to provide. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And now, your colleague to the south, Danielle Hartman, Rails Jewish Family Services. Up next, Samuel Citron, if you could be ready to go, please.
Thank you. Okay, hi, everybody. And I hate to say it, I don't have Mark's number memorized. So thank you, Mark. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Danielle Hartman. I'm the CEO of Rails Jewish Family Services. So we service from Delray Beach down to the border of Boca Raton, right into Parkland. Although we do have many of our employees coming over the border from Parkland into Boca Raton. And just to reiterate what Mark said, we are so thankful to all of you for your sponsorship of previous legislation. Sometimes we're lucky, sometimes we're not, but we come back every year. And we did take a delegation from the Tri-County up to Tallahassee last year in reference to the bill that Mark mentioned with Representative Caruso, who was our sponsor, and also crossing into Broward. We have Senator Jones in Broward was our Senate sponsor, and we're looking to do more collaborative work like that in the session. Rep. Caruso mentioned behavioral health. That is one of our big priorities in the upcoming session for appropriations. So in addition to asking for a repeat and an increase for the mental health Tri-County collaboration, Mark and I have actually talked about partnering to bring some trauma training into our community. I'm not even going to say if there's another tragedy, because it's going to be when there is another tragedy. Most recently, we were very involved, the both of us, with Hurricane Ian response. We've been helping our partners in Broward with after Stoneman Douglas, after the Surfside collapse. And so the Israel Trauma Coalition is really a leader in trauma response, and they do a train the trainer model, which is similar to the mental health first aid, but it's for immediate trauma response. And so we would like to, and we were speaking to Senator Polsky yesterday, we'd like to bring some of that training into our county, not just for our Jewish agencies, but for the broader community, so that when, unfortunately, the next tragedy happens, we will have trained staff, mental health professionals who can be deployed and be support for our broader community, which is what we do now amongst our Tri-County partners down into Miami. But we need to bring training in, and we need to get more people trained. And on the other priority for us with the behavioral health front is, unfortunately, we have a lack of mental health professionals, licensed mental health professionals, and we really need to build the field. And I participated in the CHIP, the Community Health Information Process, and my big thing was about let's build the field. Because while mental health first aid is amazing and wonderful, and we need to, I'm not a clinician, I need to know about how to recognize the signs of mental illness. If we teach so many people to recognize the signs, but they have nowhere to go to access affordable mental health services, then what have we done? So we really need to build the field, and we have many graduates from social work schools every year, and then they run into issues getting the supervision to get their license. So I look to agencies like myself, Mark, and other nonprofits to be that bridge to help build the field. We need more licensed mental health professionals. So thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Yes, Representative Skidmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment, really. I want to thank you, Danielle, for all of the help and assistance you provided to the Kings Point residents when the tornado spawned by Hurricane Ian destroyed more than 40 homes there. And it was just a godsend, honestly, that you were able to find some housing for those folks. And you worked so well with us. Senator Polsky and Senator Berman and myself. So I just wanted to just commend you for your efforts. You are a great community partner.
Thank you.
And I think my staff does have your both
Yeah,
phones
memorized.
memorized because we avail ourselves of your services all the time for our constituents. So thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Caruso, you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to apologize for leaving you out of my comments for when I was discussing with Mark, but you are a true champion.
Thank you.
And we thank you. And I'd like to reemphasize the fact that the organization just doesn't serve Jewish people
Thank you.
in the community. It serves the community at large. And I think that's just great.
Thank you for making that point. And I'll give you these so you can all memorize my numbers. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Next up is Samuel Cintron, followed by Mary Jane Range.
Good morning, Sam Cintron, Palm Beach Sierra Club, Loxahatchee Group. I'm here to speak for the expansion of the Florida Wildlife Preserve, which is, and I commend this body for its efforts. One time it was a nonpartisan issue. It became partisan, where climate change was not even allowed to be mentioned in administration. Now we're back to nonpartisan, which is commendable. At the Palm Beach County meetings where I usually speak, I talked about preservation of natural areas and preventing the intrusion and the salination of fresh waters as sea levels rise and the flooding of our cities. We need to preserve the wildlife and fauna of our area. It helps tourism as well. We have agricultural reserves in the Palm Beach where it's always a constant battle to fight against developers who seems to win much of the time. We have a drought. The West is severely affected. There are initiatives being taken to ration water across several states. Here in Florida on the West Coast, we had Hurricane Ian, which devastated a lot of the crops. These issues need to be addressed. What can we do? Also, we can address plastic, single-use plastics, try and get them recyclable plastics, and polyester. Polyester, people don't realize it's a petroleum-based product. We need to maybe get away from these and maybe consider hemp. Hemp was a very sustainable product many 50, 100 years ago. And that's an excellent substitute. We need to get back to that, any initiatives that would help our environment. I have a book, it's called, it's probably do a better job than I can. It's The Uninhabitable Earth, best-selling book among many lists. And it says the following, a couple of points. I don't have much time, but we are currently adding carbon to the atmosphere at a considerably faster rate, by most estimates, at least 10 times faster. The rate is 100 times faster than at any point in human history before the beginning of industrialization. Sea level rise inundates cropland with more and more saltwater flooding, transforming agricultural areas into brackish sponges no longer able to adequately feed those living on them.
Thank you.
Okay? This is very important. It's not to be taken lightly. I read this,
Thank you so much. Just to let you know that the Senate has a committee on resiliency for the first time that several of us will be serving on. So I know there's always a lot of speakers here on the environment, so that's a small step forward. The best I can say. The House too, excuse me. The House and Senate both have committees, so that's a good sign. Okay, Mary Jane Range, followed by Dominic Phillips as our last speaker.
Good morning. I'm here to discuss the subject that you're about to go off to ponder next week in Tallahassee. I'm currently treasurer of a 22-story, 126-unit condominium here in West Palm Beach. Your district, Representative Edmonds. In 2021, our property insurance was $140,000 a year for the building. This year it was $360,000. Next year we're expecting a 40% increase. I just presented a budget to our ownership. I'm afraid to walk through the lobby, given that everyone in the building is expecting now a $500 a month increase, which is $6,000 a year, and that's totally due. Thank you, Senator Powell. And that's totally due to property insurance. So I guess what I'm saying is, you know what you have to do next week. And I hate to use the word desperate, but this really is becoming a desperate situation. And it's not just private homes, it is condominiums. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Mary Jane.
And which association was that?
1900 Constant Place in Land of the Presidents.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Dominic?
Thank you guys for having me and letting me speak. My name is Dominic Phillips, and I lived in West Palm Beach since 1984, excuse me, and I'm 43 years old. I won't take up too much of your time because I know you guys have more important issues to deal with, like the strawberry shortcake dessert and making sure cadets can do cocaine safely.
Dominic, if you could please address your issue and not malign us, we would
I'm going to
appreciate
get to
that.
it right now. I thank you for your time. On November 8th, 2021, my mother was wrongfully killed from minor gallbladder surgery. The doctor failed to properly seal her ducts. She had a bio leak. She went septic and died. Totally preventable. A mistake that never should have happened, but it did, and my mother is dead. She was my best friend, by the way. No more texts, no more phone calls. I found out about Florida Statute 768.21, subsection 8, the hard way, like most of us do. My family's life has changed forever. How could someone get away with a mistake like this? No accountability. This law is keeping the same doctor that killed my mom capable of committing the same mistake again. We're growing in numbers. We're getting more organized. More people are finding out about this law before it affects them directly, more of your constituents. We're planning an End Florida Free Kill bus ride to Tallahassee with other Florida Free Kill members or victim family members. I'm also here today to represent people who this law hurts so much that they can't even talk about it. We're not looking for money. This isn't about money. This is about accountability. Someone made a mistake that cost someone their life, and that person should be held accountable. It shouldn't matter what category the person they kill falls under. Florida, we need to do better. My mom's life mattered. All Florida lives matter. Our loved ones will not die in vain. They still have a voice. I love you, Mom. Thank you for your time. Rick Roth, I want to thank you for last time speaking with me. It really helped me.
Representative.
Representative, sorry.
Thank you.
Still
Thank you
learning.
very much. Thank you.
Yes, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Mac Bernard, who has joined us. Thank you very much for being here. Yes, hey, Mac. I just wanted to mention, as I will see all of you in Tallahassee next week. Looking forward to that. Hoping we can do something to help the property insurance crisis. Our next meeting is January 12th. Members.
Madam Chair, for the good of the order,
Yes, sir.
bring something up.
Okay, just one more second. January 12th is our next delegation meeting. Members, please block the day. It is a full day with our counterparts, we have workshops, so please block the full day for our next meeting, January 12th. And yes, Senator Powell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and this is a serious subject, and perhaps we as the delegation, I know I'm working with Representative Eskamani, who is Iranian. As you know, it's a national issue where in Iran, Masha Amani was held and detained due to improper or inappropriate Islamic attire, and she died in custody, which has created one of the biggest protests in the history of Iran, and it has impacted the nation in terms of women. And I believe the women of Iran have been named in terms of heroes for Time magazine. I'm hopeful that we could either do something as a resolution here at the delegation or together in Tallahassee to show our support for this human rights issue, if possible. I just wanted to put that on everybody's radar and bring it up because I think it's something that is important and can be discussed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Powell. Anyone else have any announcements?
I'd just like to add my support to that, because I think I've been watching what's going on there, as we all have, and it's hundreds of people have been killed, and it's terrible. I know that supposedly the morality police have been pulled back, but we can't. It's hard for us to see what's coming out of there because they're shutting down the communications, and I think it's a lot worse than we even know. So I'm totally in favor of that. So whatever I can do.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if there's nothing further to come for the delegation, Representative Edmonds moves we rise.